That's a hat.
I've just received from the screen now. Now you send it. Yeah, I've just sent it now. I'm just trying to see whether you got the receipt again. Good morning, Chilega. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members and colleagues.
Am I audible, Sisi?
You are, Chair.
Okay. Morning. Can you check whether all members have logged in? Morning, Ma'am Kumalo.
Yes,
Morning,
Chair,
comrade.
except the members from the MKP. But we do
Okay.
meet the required quorum. I did try
Quorum.
to call Mr. Mkhize, but he didn't pick up. I'll try Mr. Temba.
Okay,
But
Sisi,
we are
just
correcting.
hold
Oh, yeah. And then also, sorry, Chair,
on.
Mr. Peach. I'll call Mr. Peach as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No,
I
it's
have a
fine.
quorum.
I'm going to switch off my video, honorable members and colleagues. I am really not feeling well. I think I'm catching flu. I'm going to switch off my video for purpose of connection. It is 9:30 now. I think we need to start. Chi, can you flight the agenda? For now, honorable members and colleagues, let me welcome all of you into our meeting today, as we will be receiving the second and third quarter reports from the departments and entities. Today, colleagues, we have South African Weather Services and iSimangaliso. They will be briefing us on their financial and non-financial performance. We will also receive a briefing from our newly allocated entity, which is SAFCOL, on their mandate and as well as on their 25th annual performance. As we look through our reports, members, I've seen that iSimangaliso has continued its excellent performance against planned targets during their period under review. And also on the other side, infrastructure-related targets under Program 3 of South African Weather Services seem to affect delivery against their targets. And as the committee, we know that we have agreed that we'll be doing oversight. So that will afford us an opportunity to get a first-hand understanding on this underperforming infrastructure. So we will definitely go and visit South African Weather Services and its stations. With those few words, honorable members and colleagues, let me welcome all of you. I humbly apologize. I am really not feeling well today. With those few words from my side, I welcome all of you. Can you zoom it a bit? I can't see properly. The agenda.
Yes, Chair, can you see it now?
Okay, let me just check from my gadget rather. I can see now. Okay, I just want to check if there's any apologies here.
Yes, Chair. We received an apology from the Minister, Dr. George.
Okay, do we have the deputy ministers?
Yes, the two deputies, Chair, are in the meeting.
Oh, okay. Welcome, Deputy Minister Singh and Deputy Minister Berenice. Can you just go through the list of our people who have attended the meeting today, the ones from the entities, and also from the department we have. Can you just go through the list of them before we go for the agenda?
All right. From the department, we have DDG Kekana, Chief Director Patience Waze, Chief Director for Forestry, Moronga Liseke, Chief Director for Protected Area Systems Management, it's Mr. Sidney Nkosi. Chief Director Governance and Executive Support is Zolefa Maestri. Director, Public Entity Support and Performance is Olorato Bukeleng. Office of the Director General is Pumulo Sekgobela. Parliamentary Support, Buiswa Dibongo. And moving on, Chair, to South African Weather Services, we've got Mr. Itani Paduli. He's the Deputy Chairperson of the board. Isham Abada, CEO. Namen Mzizi, CFO. Petro Decker, Executive Manager, Corporate Services. Dr. Jonas Mpeya, Weather and Climate Services. He's an Executive Chair. Mr. Mnike Lindabambi, Executive Infrastructure and Information Systems. And then from iSimangaliso Wetland Park Authority, we have Inkosi Umabodu Tembe, Board Chairperson. And then we've got Mr. Sbusiso Bukhosini, the CEO. Mrs. Kamkile Mtambo, Chief Official Officer. Ms. Lungile Nduli, Strategic Support Manager. And then Chair from SAFCOL, we have the Acting Chief Executive Officer, it's Mr. Sibalo Lamini. And CEO is Mr. Sean Human. Thank you, Chair. I just want to check with Buiswa. I'm not sure if I received the apology for DG. Buiswa? Colleagues from the department?
Yes, Mecca?
Yes.
Yes, we sent you an apology for DG on Friday,
right.
I believe.
Oh, thanks,
Yeah.
Lisa. Chair, that's another apology from the DG. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Chair. Members, can we move for the adoption of the agenda? I'm just noting hands. Honorable Kumalo, followed by Honorable Manaka.
Thank you
Honorable
very much, Chairperson. Okay.
Over to you,
Greetings,
ma'am.
Chairperson. Thank you. Greetings to your good self, Chair, and all members of this portfolio and our officials and our entities that are here this morning. I move to adopt the agenda, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kumalo. Honorable Manaka.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings to you and also our deputy ministers, all the representatives from the department and those who are coming from the entities. I raised my hand, Honorable Chairperson, to second Honorable Kumalo. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Manaka. Thank you. Deputy ministers, I am not sure who will be doing the overview on behalf of the minister. Can I check with you, Honorable Swartz and Honorable Singh, who will be doing the overview?
I will do it, Chair.
Oh, okay. Honorable Swartz. Okay. Okay. Honorable, over to you, DM Swartz. You can do your overview, ma'am.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister George in absentia, Honorable Deputy Minister Singh, Honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, chairpersons and board members, representatives and CEOs of entities, senior officials representing South African Weather Services, iSimangaliso Wetland Park Authority and SAFCOL. Today, we are here to present the organizational performance for the second and third quarter of the financial year of 2023-24 for South African Weather Services and iSimangaliso Wetland Park Authority. We also present the overview mandate, APP, for 2024-25 of the South African Forestry Company, SOC Limited. iSimangaliso Wetland Park Authority oversees the management of the iSimangaliso Wetland Park, emphasizing conservation, sustainable tourism, and the protection of its unique biodiversity. During the second quarter of 2023-24 financial year, the entity had planned for 52 output indicators, and 47 out of those output indicators were achieved, which translated to 90% organizational performance. During the third quarter of 2023-24 financial year, the entity had planned for 52 output indicators, and 50 of those output indicators were achieved, which translated to 96% organizational performance. Honorable Chairperson, the South African Weather Services has made considerable strides in improving its performance to the distinction achieved in the third quarter. This happened despite the challenges its meteorological and air quality monitoring infrastructure encountered due to load shedding, and that prevailed in the period under review. The entity continued to implement its infrastructure sustainability plans to address the electricity challenges, modernize, expand, and optimize its network of observations infrastructure. The board and management remain committed to ensuring that the entity commands contemporary infrastructure that will ensure the ongoing collection of quality, meteorological, and ambient air quality data over South Africa and the Southern Oceans for use by current and future generations. Such quality data is critical to save lives and property through impact-based forecasting and early warning messages for people of this republic and the SADC region that we support. It is with great pleasure to introduce the new entity within the department. The South African Forestry Company, SAFCOL, was established in 1992 under the Management of State Forest Act number 128 of 1992. The South African Forestry Company, SAFCOL, is an integrated forestry business. It is a state-owned forestry company that was reporting under the Department of Public Enterprise. On the 26th of August 2024, President Cyril Ramaphosa transferred responsibility for state-owned enterprise, overseen by the Department of Public Enterprises, to their respective line ministries. As a result, SAFCOL is now under the Ministry of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. SAFCOL has forestry operations in Limpopo, Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal, as well as in the southern half of Mozambique, Manica and Sofala provinces. In addition, SAFCOL has a sawmill in Limpopo known as Timbadola Sawmill. The principal purpose of the company is the long-term development of the forestry industry through the management and control of state forests according to accepted commercial management practices. SAFCOL's growing stock consists of pine, which is 92%, eucalyptus 5%, and the wattle, which is 3%, which is grown, processed, and sold into the market, either as saw logs or as sawn timber. As outlined in its memorandum of establishment, SAFCOL has a dual mandate. One, a commercial mandate to conduct a commercial forestry business, mainly timber, harvesting, processing, and other associated processes, both nationally and internationally. And two, a socio-economic development mandate by showing effective return to shareholders whilst contributing to social and economic development, mainly in rural areas of the company's operations. SAFCOL is listed as a Schedule 2 major public entity in terms of the Public Finance Management Act number 1 of 1998 of the PFMA. SAFCOL's strategic plan for 2024 to 2029, referred as Strategy 29, builds upon the insights gained from the preceding 50-50 strategic plan covering 2019 to 2024 and a comprehensive assessment of the challenges that must be addressed over the strategic horizon to the financial year of 2028 and 29 to accomplish the desired dual mandate outcomes. Strategy 29 adopts an outcomes-based management approach. It focuses on evaluating past progress, addressing emerging environmental factors, and aligning with the shareholder strategic intent statement issued periodically by the shareholder. The company is currently aligning the strategy with the DFFE strategy and will report on their quarter performance in the next sittings. I will now hand over to the board chairpersons and the chief executive officers of iSimangaliso Wetland Park Authority and South African Weather Services to deliberate further on the achievements and the reasons for non-achievements of the output indicators in the 2 quarters. After which I would request one of the directors present to give an overview of the South African Forestry Company strategy and the APP for 2024-25 financial year. Thank you very much, Chairperson and honorable members of the committee.
Thank you, Honorable DM Swartz. We are going to move to the presentation by South African Weather Services. However, before we move, I did not hear Honorable Singh. I am not sure whether he wanted to say something because you both spoke at the same time. Honorable Singh?
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I hope you feel better soon. It's going to take its own course for you to get better as much as you try to take all the muti that you want to. I just want to greet all the honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, DM Swartz, the chairperson, CEOs of all the boards and all the officials that are present. I think DM Swartz has covered everything that needs to be said. Safe to say, Honorable Chairperson, I think you are aware that the presentations by South African Weather Services and iSimangaliso will be historical in nature because it's for a period, financial period that has already ended, 23-24. And I think you've already gone through the audit report, but I think it's important for us to see how they did perform and did not perform, because as we move forward, we need to have interventions that will correct any anomalies that they were in the 23-24 financial year. So I think let's hear from the officials, and we are here as members of the executive to offer whatever support we can to the Portfolio Committee and to our officials and to make sure we get things right. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable DM Singh. Members, I'm going to now move to the chairperson, deputy chairperson of the board, South African Weather Services, for a brief overview. Over to you, Deputy Chair. Deputy Chairperson of South African Weather Services Board.
Good morning, Chair. It's the CEO of the South African Weather Services. Chair, I'm not seeing the chairperson in the meeting. Unfortunately, I know that he's traveling and he's overseas at the moment, so I'm not sure if he's having connectivity issues or not. Chair, I suspect that is the case. Because I did meet with him yesterday online, and we also had some issues in relation to the connectivity. So I'm not sure. I don't see him in the meeting this morning, Chair.
Okay, no, it's fine. Let's just go straight to you, CEO.
Good morning, Chair. I just want to show you and the committee members and the honorable ministers my face quickly, and if you don't mind, I'll then switch off the camera just to improve the quality of my connection as well. Thank you. Good morning, Honorable Chair, honorable members, honorable ministers, DG and colleagues. I think, Chair, we'll start with your permission, Chair. If I can just go through the areas where we haven't achieved, and then what I'll do is I'll go through all the slides where we haven't achieved and just give an overall view of the 2 quarters, and then I'll ask the CFO to then talk to the slides in each respective quarter in relation to the financial matters. I'll start off with slide number 5, Chair. This slide gives a summary of the first and second quarter. You'll see there in the first quarter, we achieved roughly 67%, and we were off target about 33%. There were 4 targets without milestones. In the second quarter, again, around about 68%, and we were off target in terms of 32%. there were 3 out of the 28 annual targets which didn't necessarily have a milestone. Sorry. On slide 6, Chair, this is the summary of our second quarter performance. As I indicated, 68% and 32% out of the 25 targets, we had 17 that were on target and then 8 that were off target. Can we move to the first slide? Yeah, thank you. So on slide 8, we had an indicator of 98% for our national weather bulletins, what we call the FPZ A41. We achieved 97% there, so we missed it by 1%. We had an issue with our computer systems there, and we, in terms of mitigating it, we're looking at procuring new computers for our forecasters, and also a forecaster workstation, which has been purchased subsequently. Slide 16 is the next one, I think. Yes, there we go. This was the percentage availability of our automatic weather stations infrastructure. Our target there is 85%. We achieved 83%, so we've missed it by 2%. We had some issues with the global communication systems, the network coverage, and that was largely due to load shedding, because once there's no electricity, some of the GSM stations also fell down. What we did to correct that is we got 35 LTE modems that we bought. We deployed and installed them in that period under review. We used 31 of these modems for our automatic weather stations in terms of our modernization program. 21 were upgraded and 10 was for network expansion. And then the phase 2 of that was including procurement and deployment of 82 of these modems to AWS sites as part of our plans for 23-24 year. Next slide, please. In terms of our automatic rainfall stations, the target there was 80% in that quarter. We achieved 76%, so we missed it by 4%. Once again, the issues around the GSM impacted us. There also, we got some more of these LTE modems at our automatic rainfall sites. And we plan to do phase 1 of the automation project to be completed by the end of March 2024, where we would see the deployment of 100 of these LTE modems and automatic rainfall station boards for conversion of our manual rainfall stations to automatic stations. While 50 of these modems and boards would be used for the expansion for situations where the network was giving us communication issues. Sorry, not expansion. The next slide, slide 19, thank you. There, the percentage availability of our radar infrastructure in that quarter was quite bad. It was at 46%. Once again, the load shedding impacted us quite significantly. And then also our backup systems also were not up to scratch then. There was also issues around spares and components for some of our radars that we subsequently addressed as well. We started a weekly monitoring of the implementation of our sustainability plan. And then we also brought on board a service provider, private service provider, with partial outsourcing to assist us with particularly maintenance, so that we minimize the capacity gap in the organization, and also try to look at how we improve our procurement times. Next slide, please. Just in terms of our percentage of lightning detection network infrastructure, our target there is 90%. We achieved 88%, so we missed it by 2%. We had issues with 1 or 2 of our sensors in terms of the servicing of the sensors by the original equipment manufacturer, but we did engage them successfully, and now that contract is being maintained properly. We are also busy with lightning detection network upgrades, and the phase 1 of that process was completed already, and we were in the process of doing phase 2 as well. Next slide, please. In this area where we look at the percentage of priority areas, air quality stations that are available on SAFCOL that are meeting the minimum data requirements, there we have a target in the second quarter of 80%. We managed to achieve only 53%. We had load shedding and electricity challenges that resulted in us losing data, and also instability as far as our instruments went. We also had damage to some of our UPSs and instrument electronics, which impacted us. So what we decided to do there as corrective measures was to look at stations to be charged via solar. And we also procured 8 kilovolt ampere batteries that last 4 to 6 hours as a backup solution. And we then evaluated those bids and subsequently went through that procurement process as well. Next slide is slide 23, which just gives a graphic representation of the achievement for program 3's performance. Then the next slide is slide 26. Here we talked about our second quarter unregulated revenue target. We were supposed to have or rather generate income of 7.6 million rand roughly. We only managed to achieve 3.9 million rand. The load shedding was impacting on our infrastructure functionality, which in turn impacted our products and ability to sell those products. So we were looking at the fact that there would be a shift from springtime into summer. And as a result, in the summertime, there's a lot more weather activity, and with that comes also increased revenue from information fees and so forth. So that was the underachievement there. Next slide, 27. We had a target there of 42% compliance in terms of our employment equity target in relation to women in management. We missed that target by 0.06%, and that was as a result of some resignations. The next slide is slide 31. That just gives a graphic representation once again of the program's performance. Chair, as I indicated, I'm going to skip all the finance slides, and I'll ask the CFO to just address the second and third quarters together. So the next slide is slide 39. This just gives an overall picture of the quarters 1 to 3. You'll see that in quarter 1 and 2, we weren't doing so well. We were around about 67, 68%. But in quarter 3, we picked up quite a bit in terms of our on target. We had 83% in the third quarter, and then roughly 17% that was off target. So out of our targets there, only 4 of the 28 targets didn't have milestones. So you'll see that there was quite an upsurge in the third quarter. Next slide, please. Slide 40. Slide 40. Yeah, this just shows you the actual number of targets, 24. We had 20 on target and 4 were off target. The next slide, I think it's slide 51. Thank you. This was the program 3 infrastructure and information systems targets that were not met. This is in the third quarter though. We had 51% out of a potential target of 75%. I think the issues were indicated. Basically, poor availability of supporting infrastructure like our uninterrupted power supply. Yes.
So just
Yes,
pause a
ma'am.
bit. Just pause a bit. May I request that say September to mute and other is. Can you mute Honorable Temba? Thank you. May continue, CE.
Thank you, Chair. No problem. So that was on slide 51 there. We also had we were putting in place issues, peripherals such as uninterrupted power supplies, automatic voltage regulators, and also standby diesel generators. The next slide is slide 53. There also, Chair, in terms of the percentage of priority air quality stations available on SAFCOL that meet the minimum data requirements, it did go up a little bit, but it obviously wasn't at 80%. It was only at 64%. The issues that we had in the previous quarter were similar. I did indicate that we did start purchasing batteries and backup solutions. And we had some of them installed in December 2023. We also did a bid process for 14 other battery backups subsequent to that. Then slide 55, thank you. That just gives an overall picture of what was achieved and not achieved. Then slide 57 is the next one. In terms of expenditure on affirmative procurement, this one, the target is 75%. We missed it by 1%, but we had a big procurement, an overseas procurement of 29 million rand. And that unfortunately was a sole supply. I think it was Microsoft, if I'm not mistaken. So we missed that target by basically 1%. But we do have a program in place to partner with local suppliers, or partner local suppliers with international suppliers to broaden the supplier base and ensure that we get our unique product requirements met. Next slide is 59. So in terms of this one, it was that women in management, the target is 42%. Once again, we missed it by 0.87%. And as I said, we had vacancies in our senior management, which we needed to fill. Slide 63 just gives again a graphical representation of program 4. And you'll see there that we only had 22% that was off target. Chair, with your permission, I'll hand over to the CFO to take us through the financials for the second and the third quarters. So we'll go back to slide 32, I think it is, and I'll hand over to Mr. Mzizi to just take us through.
Okay. Over to you, Mr. Mzizi.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members. I've switched on my camera and with the permission, Chair, as I present, I will also request to switch off the camera. Thank you.
It's fine.
Thank you, Chair. I'll start on this slide. It's a summary of the statement of the financial performance. And on the right-hand side, it gives the full year for the prior year for 22-23. And then we've got the full year forecast as well as the full year budget. And the figures that I will be concentrating on the left-hand side, we've got the year-to-date budget as well as the year-to-date actuals. And as you can see, for the third quarter, we had a deficit of 1.7 million. And I would like to go to the next slide, 34, which I think slide 34, basically it gives the summary of our revenue, the details of our revenue. And as you can see that in terms of the revenue, we are about 68 million below the budget, because the total budget is 278 million, and the budget is 346 million. And when you look in the slide, on the commercial revenue, we've got two components, which is the statutory commercial as well as the non-statutory. On the statutory one, which is the aviation, we are sitting at 62 million versus the budget of 54 million. We are above the budget, and on the non-statutory, we are below the budget because the actual it's 9 million versus the year-to-date budget of 15 million. And Chair, the next slide gives more information on the revenue. This is a summary of the financial performance. As I've indicated, that the total revenue, it amounts to 278 million, and then it's below the budget of 346 million by 19.6%. And then the statutory commercial revenue, the actual revenue for the period amounts to 62.76 million, and is above the budget of 54 million by 8 million. And this is primarily due to the improved air traffic volumes and partly to the increased tariff for the financial year. And on the non-statutory commercial revenue, the amount is 9 million, and then it's below the budget of 15 million. And then we have a negative variance of 6 million. And then on the expenditure side, the total expenditure incurred for the period amounted to 235 million, which is about 7.9% below the year-to-date budget of 255.8 million. And we are sitting at 92% cost year-to-date. And then on the administrative expenditure for the period, it amounts to 5.67 million and is below the budget of 7 million by about 19%. And on the operating expenditure, the actual spending amounts to 82 million versus the budget of 98 million. And as I've indicated, we have an operating deficit of 1.73 million. The next slide that I would like to look at is slide number 66, which is the last quarter. Okay, thanks. This slide basically it gives the total status of our revenue, and as the minister indicated that these were the figures before the audited figures, and in terms of our commercial revenue, we are sitting at on the aviation side, we were sitting at actual of 96 million versus 96 million, which is, I'll say, almost on par with our budget. And then on the non-statutory commercial, we are sitting at 17 million versus the budget of 20 million. And then we're about 3 million below the budget. And as you can see, in total, our total revenue is 429 million versus the budget of 562 million. And the variance of 132 million is mainly from the government grant capital expenditure of 103 million. And this is because of some of the major projects that were below the budget. And the previous slide, 65, it gives the summary of our financial performance, and I've covered the revenue. And in terms of the total expenditure, we are sitting at 355 million versus the budget of 393 million. As you can see that our expenditure, we are below the budget. And on the administrative expenditure, we are also below the budget by about 2 million. And on the compensation of employees, we are also below the budget by about 11 million. And due due to the fact that we had some vacancies at the end of the quarter. And then on the operating expenditure, we are below the budget by 23 million, as the actual was 124 million. And in total, we had a surplus of 804 million. Last year, year to date, we had a deficit of 9 million. And as I've also indicated, these were the figures before they were audited. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, CFO. I think you are done, Source, with your presentation. CE, if I may
Yes,
check.
Chair, thank you very much,
Okay.
Chair.
Okay, then. Thank you very much. We are now going to move to iSimangaliso. I'm going to hand over to Inkosi Tembe to do just an overview of opening remarks or an overview. Thank you. Honor Inkosi Tembe. Inkosi Utembe, can you do your overview, sir? If he is not around, the CEO of iSimangaliso, can you get to the presentation? Because Chilega, when she was reading the people who are present, she indicated that Inkosi Tembe is in the meeting.
Yeah, no, thank you, Chair. I think he's muted. I'm not sure what is happening, but maybe let me take over, Chair. Greetings to yourself, Chairperson, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee present, chairpersons of the entities, honorable deputy ministers. Yes.
CE?
Yes,
There is
Chairperson.
a noise. There is a noise that is happening in your background. Because, yeah, I do not see anyone who is unmuted, but there is a noise in the background. So we'll
Okay.
just request you are making a noise.
Okay,
Yes.
I don't know what's happening. Let me try. I don't know. Can you hear me now, Chair? How is it now?
No, it's fine now. It's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I tried to move. Okay. Chairperson, I was still greeting the honorable deputy ministers, Deputy Minister Singh and Deputy Minister Swartz, who are in our midst here. It gives me great pleasure, Deputy Chair, to present the second and the third quarter financial year organizational performance for iSimangaliso Wetland Park Authority, where we are showcasing the accomplishments and the strategic initiatives of the organization. You will realize, Chairperson, that this exceptional performance demonstrates our commitment to excellence and dedication to delivering outstanding results as an entity. And I can assure you that some of the targets which were not achieved, especially in the second and third quarter, if you look at the fourth quarter, ultimately they were achieved, as you probably saw, the 100% achievement in our final reports. In the second quarter of the 2023-24 financial year, as Deputy Minister Swartz has already indicated, the entity had planned 52 output indicators, and 47 of those were achieved, which translated into 90% organizational performance. Targets which were not achieved is we're looking at the expenditure of the allocated budget. We were expected to achieve 95%, but we achieved 92.53%. And the reason why that was not achieved is because the Working for Water programs had not been implemented at that point in time. So that really compromised us because the expenditure in that area was not achieved. The second aspect was on the tourism and business development. In the commercialization side, you will recall, Chairperson, that we started a process of taking over the commercial facilities from Ezenvelo KZN Wildlife to implement a strategy which we call commercialization. But in order for us to take over, we had to do the due diligence just to make sure that we are not taking over unnecessary liabilities, and we had to go through a very vigorous process to do that. So there was a delay in finalizing that, which I must also indicate that it has since been finalized or completed, Chairperson. But at that time, it was not achieved. Under socio-economic development, we also had planned to achieve 550 a number of beneficiaries who successfully completed the accredited training, but only 338. There were issues that we had with the service provider in terms of the code that they were giving us, and we could not agree to the prices purely because of the cost containment measures that we're implementing as an organization. But also we had to do the market research, but finally that matter was also resolved, Chairperson. Number of beneficiaries who successfully completed non-accredited training, we also had 560, but we managed to get 502 for the same reasons, Chairperson. Number of people participating in skills development programs, IP infrastructure, tourism, lifeguards, and environmental monitors. Again, we were supposed to have 80, but again, we did not have any. Relevant negotiations were undertaken with the service provider, and cumulative targets of people participating in skills development programs for all quarters were then achieved in the fourth quarter, ultimately. So those are the second quarter, or that is the second quarter performance, which translates into that 90% that I talked about earlier on. In the third quarter, Chairperson, again, 52 output indicators were planned, and 50 of those indicators were achieved. Only 2 could not be achieved, and that translated into the 96% organizational performance. Again, only 2 targets there could not be achieved. Under biodiversity conservation, it was the number of the cubic meters of earthworks, wetland rehabilitation, because we are a Ramsar site, and we're rehabilitating certain areas in the park for them to allow the Ramsar or the wetland to operate naturally as it used to be. That target could not be achieved because we missed a little bit on the procurement process, but we did catch up eventually, Chairperson, as you probably know. Tourism and business development, again, it was under that commercialization that at that time, again, we had not completed the due diligence for submission to the minister at the time, which has finally been finalized. Chairperson, allow me to now hand over to the Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Kamgile Mtambo, who will be taking you through the financial performance of the organization in those 2 quarters as well.
Thank you, CEO.
Thank you, Chairperson, for the Thank you, Chairperson, for the opportunity. I hope I'm audible. I'm using the same gadget with the CEO.
Yes, you are. You are audible, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. I'm taking the committee members, Honorable. Let me greet all the honorables and the deputy ministers in present, and in quarter 2 of the year 2023-2024 financial year. In terms of the financial position, we had an increase from our assets coming from 853 to 912 due to the assets that we procured or the assets that we were building, such as infrastructure projects, the roads. There is one of the roads that we converted from the gravel into tar, so which gave us like 22 kilometer, gave us that increase of about 58 million. And also in this in Q2, this is where we also signed up new concessionaires, where we started to have the receivable of about 5.3 million, which is coming from the new concessionaires that we signed from activities. But at this point, if you look at our current assets, we were 80.87 is to 1 in terms of their current ratio. So meaning that our current liabilities were above slightly, because we were still waiting for some of the grants to come. And we also had started working on our JF7 funding. In the next slide, on performance, in performance, we increase our revenue from Q1 to Q2 by 31%. If you go to the next slide, please. In terms of our grant recognition, we had about 13.6% in increase. And if I can also move to Q3, in terms of the slide, if we can move to Q3. In a nutshell, for Q2, we managed to be within the budget, and we had a surplus of about 6.9 million. So if we can move to Q3, thank you, on finances. Okay, on Q3, Honorable Chairperson, is that our park revenue show an increase from Q2, which was 5.8 million, into 6.8 million, totaling to 16.9 million. And also the recognition of grants, we increased to 268 million. And this was the reason, because most of our projects were on implementation. So we were able to move to 268, and then we had a total revenue of about 303 million in Q3. Then in terms of the expenditure, all our expenditures were maintained below what we actually made, and then gave us a surplus of about 29 million in this Q3. In terms of the financial position, on the next slide, financial position, as at 31st of December 2023, the current asset had already increased to 86 million, considering with the previous quarters. As mentioned, we were still having an issue in terms of the cash flow. We're still below 1:1, which was 0.70:1. In this quarter, we were still waiting from the department the transfers to the entity of about 141 million at that time. But the next slide, it was indicating the grants that we're still waiting from the department, but these amounts were paid, except the 58 million, which was then covered in this 24-25 financial year. This is in a nutshell the position of the entity at Q2 and Q3. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Mdambo. And thank you also to the CEO. Honorable members, those are the two presentations from the two different entities. I am now going to afford you an opportunity to ask questions. May I note hands? I see the hand of Honorable Managa, followed by Honorable Nalumango, Honorable Kumalo, then Honorable Makas. Honorable Manaka, your hand has just disappeared.
No, you have noted it. I didn't want to leave
Oh,
it there
okay
on the
then.
page. Yes, Chair.
Okay, so in that order, honorable members, it's Honorable Manaka, followed by Honorable Nalumango, Honorable Kumalo, then Honorable Makasi.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. Let me welcome the presentations. Unfortunately, along the way, I got disconnected due to network. However, I have a question to the iSimangaliso based on the presentation that they made on the social economic development. Honorable Chair, unemployment is one of the major challenges that we are facing as the country. They presented that in skills development during Q2, Q3, they didn't reach the target. However, in Q4, they managed to reach the target, which is a thumbs up to, which is a thumbs up. I really applaud them for doing that. But my concern is with the accredited training. Their target was 550. Instead of 550, they only achieved 220, meaning that about 230 people, they should have been employed. Unfortunately, they were not. And it's like they were not having troubles with the funding. So I just want them to take us through what made them not to reach this target, because according to me, is to advertise, then they must just absorb the youth or whoever they are absorbing in the system for the period that is set for that financial year. But they even said they received more funds. I don't know why didn't they utilize those funds that they received. Socio-economic development, it's my worry, Honorable Chair. Otherwise, as the entity, they are doing great, but the challenge is on keeping the issue of unemployment. I remember in one of the presentations that they did, I think it was our first employment. They promised us as the portfolio committee, they assured us that they need to employ as many youth as possible. They even gave us demographics of the area around where they are located. So please let's hear what is the issues. If maybe there's a need for us to intervene or there's a need for us to assist, maybe we can assist there and there. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Manaka. Honorable Nalumango.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings to the executive as well as honorable members, as well as the departments present on the platform this morning. Chair, let me welcome the presentations as well from South and iSimangaliso. I do have several questions that I would like to pose. Let me just pose my first question under South. I would like to know there, Chair, what are the key focus areas for human capital management in the upcoming financial year? And how does South plan to address attrition and skills development? Under air quality monitoring, what challenges have affected the performance of air quality monitoring stations? And what interventions have been identified to mitigate the impact of load shedding on these instruments? And was the projects identified in radar infrastructure sustainability plan, was it implemented? Under iSimangaliso, what measures are in place to ensure good governance, compliance with legislative requirements, and effective financial management, as indicated by the unqualified external audit opinion? And what is the status of the ICT governance framework? And has it been approved and submitted to the board for finalization? What percentage of female beneficiaries have been supported, and what are the targets and progress in this area? And are there any challenges or corrective measures related to the earthworks in the wetland rehabilitation projects? On program 3, slide 62, Was due diligence report endorsed and implemented? Thank you, Chair. Those are my questions.
Thank you, Honorable Nalumango. Honorable Kumalo.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to all members of the committee, our entities that are here, our officials that are present in this platform. Chair, my questions are based to South African Weather Services, especially in terms of the infrastructure and information system, Chair. What are the specific challenges related to the availability and functionality of critical infrastructure components such as automatic weather stations and lightning detection networks? That is one of my questions. The other one, Chair, is the internal control. How effective are the South African Weather Services internal controls, and what corrective measures have been proposed to address any identified weaknesses? Lastly, Chair, in terms of the triple BEE compliance, what is the South's current status in terms of broad-based Black economic empowerment compliance, and what steps are being taken to improve in this area? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kumalo. Honorable Makasi.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to yourself, the DMs in the meeting, and the officials present from the department and the entities. I have a question to iSimangaliso. If they can explain to us how has the tourism and commercialization strategy been implemented, and what are the expected outcomes of this strategy? 2, what efforts have been made to engage leadership structures and schools in the environmental awareness and conservation activities, and what are the targets to these activities? And lastly, what progress has been made in maintaining the park estate and cleaning of the coastline? Are there any challenges and corrective measures related to these activities? To SAWS, what are the significant audit findings, and how is SAWS addressing these issues to ensure the accuracy and reliability of its financial and performance reporting? And how does SAWS manage risk, and what strategies are there in place to mitigate potential threats to its operations and financial stability? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Makasi. Honorable Diplok. Honorable Kumalo, can you mute your mic, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to the other members of the committee, to the deputy ministers, to all the officials. I have a question to iSimangaliso, just around the failed milestone around the earth moving for the proper functioning of the wetland. The presenter did mention that this has been rectified, at least in part, but if he could just spend some time explaining to us if there are any current challenges, what the current situation is, just an update on the progress on that target, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Diplok. From my side, I just have only one question to iSimangaliso. As we all know that, honorable members, we have a national target of 30% that requires that procurement spending must go to SMMEs via subcontracting mechanisms. I just want to ask iSimangaliso, of the 283 million spent, how much of that amount was spent on SMMEs? And also I want them to specify the share that was spent also on women-owned businesses. And also this, I see that iSimangaliso exceeded several targets during this period. Does that exceedance signify under targeting? I just wanted to ask those two questions. Thank you. You may start South African Weather Services, then followed by iSimangaliso. The CEO, Source.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I will address some of the issues, but I do have my executive team in the meeting with me, so I'll give a preliminary overview and then just mention which executives could add more to the responses that are required by the honourable members. In relation to our human capital management, Chair, we are having a fair amount of attrition in the organisation for various reasons. We're having a situation where some of our older employees are going into retirement, and we've already started plans for replacements for them. There's also an outflux of our forecasters, and they being basically sought by international Met offices. And I think it's primarily because of their competence. So once they reach a tenure of between 5 and 10 years, the international jurisdictions, like for example, we've had four of our forecasters that have been taken from us by the New Zealand Met Office. Obviously, the pay scales are not comparative if one looks at our respective value in terms of our currencies. So it is financially quite a jump for them. So we are looking at replacing those forecasters, and also we have a pipeline process in the making in terms of replacing them. But obviously, you'd battle to get that kind of experience in terms of forecasters. So we'd have to train them, and our executive corporate services would be able to talk to that. We also have other plans in relation to ensuring that there is a career ladder. We've identified individuals in the organization that can step into middle management and senior management positions, and we're looking at a training program for those particular individuals. But I'll ask our corporate services manager to just add on the areas that I've missed out on. In relation to the issues around the air quality monitoring and the load shedding, we've had some issues around specifically power supply to a lot of the air quality monitoring stations. We've put in interventions, as I mentioned in my presentation, around potential alternative sources of power. But the difficulty is that it seems like the solar power, for example, is quite in demand amongst the criminals as well. So I think we've had 2 incidents where they've stolen our solar backup systems. So we are then looking at alternative sites where we can place those air quality monitoring stations so that it's in a safer location. And that's being done in conjunction with the DFFE, with the department, honourable member. And I will once again ask Mr. Ndabambi to just add if I've missed anything in relation to that. Similarly with the radar, there you'll see that in the second and third quarters there was quite a dip in terms of our radar performance, but you'll note in the later presentations that there has been a slight improvement, and subsequent to that we managed to get some of the spares that were long outstanding from the original equipment manufacturers. So we managed to repair, I think it was 2 of our radars that were quite problematic. We've also got in additional capacity in terms of how we we've drafted what we call a radar sustainability plan under the guidance of the board. And we've got initiatives in that sustainability plan that we are implementing, and they are starting now to bear fruit in terms of the performance of particularly our radars. But once again, I'll ask Mr. Ndabambi in case I've missed anything. We've done a fair amount of initiatives in terms of peripherals like uninterrupted power supply. We're now starting with solar backup even for our radars. We've got automatic voltage regulators installed and that kind of thing as well. So we've done a fair amount to mitigate against load shedding. However, these last, I think it's 160 odd days, have been a help as well, because it's assisted with the stability of our instrumentation and also maintaining the integrity of our data collection. I think Honorable Kumalo asked around challenges in relation to our LDN network. There were, I think we missed that target in the second quarter, if I'm not mistaken, by 2%. So we initially had some challenges in relation to the original equipment manufacturer. We then called them in and renegotiated our contract with them. And subsequent to that, we've started a phased process of updating our LDN network to they call it the LS7002, I think it is, which is the cutting edge technology as far as lightning detection goes. And we're in the process of bringing our network up to the current standard internationally as well. We've also signed up with a partner, Meteorage, that's assisting us specifically in terms of how we use the lightning detection network information and also market that information. In terms of our automatic weather stations, we've got a program. Apart from our radar sustainability, we've also got an overall infrastructure sustainability plan. And part of that automatic weather station upgrade, we've also got new stations that we're putting in place. So essentially, we're looking at our older stations, making sure, first of all, that they are G1 compliant, which is the Global Basic Observation Network that we report to the World Meteorological Organization. So we keep ensuring that in terms of our data that we share with the WMO, the World Meteorological Organization, those stations are fully functional. And we've got 120 odd of those. And then the remaining, also about 125, I think it is 129, ensuring that those are upgraded to make sure that they are using current technology. And then we've also got another initiative in terms of the district development model, where we've identified certain districts and metros with that don't have rainfall stations and weather stations. And we're looking at ensuring that in terms of the DDM, we are placing equipment in each and every municipality. Once again, I'll ask Mr. Ndabambi, our executive IIS, to add if I've missed anything. Then I think Honorable Kumalo also asked about our internal controls. I'm not certain whether it relates to Honorable Makana's issues in relation of to the accuracy of financials and also performance reporting. But I'll just say that we've introduced a fair amount of internal control. In fact, not a fair amount. We've introduced the required reporting controls and so forth. And I think, honorable members, that is evidenced in our audit outcomes. So we've had, over the past 3 years, very good outcomes in terms of clean audits and the like. So I think in terms of that, our internal controls are working, and they're working quite well. We are having our financial statements and our performance auditing audited not only by the AGSA, but we also have internal controls in relation to our internal audit, looking at our performance reporting specifically and auditing that before it's actually reported to the board formally. So that's one of the safeguards that we have. But then also, you know, on an annual basis, we are subjected to the AGSA and their audits, and they haven't picked up any issues in relation to that. Then the issue around the BBBE, where we are now, Chair, we've seen a steady improvement in terms of our BBBE. 3 years ago when I started, we were at level 8. We've now, in the last year, managed to move us from level 8 to level 4, which I think was quite an achievement for the entity. So there is still obviously room for improvement, and we are looking at measures to improve that. But obviously some of these initiatives require funding, and you know, that's where we sometimes come short. Because I think it was one of the honourable members also talked about financial stability. So just in relation to that, I'm sure members are aware that we've had a 10% budget cut across the government. Basically, I think the DFFE and all our entities have been subjected to this 10% budget cut. Obviously, it impacts on our financial stability, and we are looking, however, at increasing our own revenue generation, and that obviously is dependent on our infrastructure and our ability to sell products that derive from the infrastructure. So it's a loop that we need to ensure is closed, so that there is enough money for infrastructure, so that we can produce the products, so that we can sell the products. In terms of the risks, the honourable member asked us how we deal with our risks. We have a risk committee and all the relevant safeguards in place in terms of risk management. That risk management is also overseen by our Audit and Risk Committee, one of the board subcommittees, and by the board itself. And our risk unit is quite capable in that regard. We are also participating in certain international fora where governance, risk and compliance is being dealt with. So I think we're doing fairly okay in terms of the identification of some of these risks, as well as the mitigation of those risks. Those are my responses. Thank you, Chair. I will ask Ms. Dekker and then Mr. Ndabambi to just add if I've missed anything, if you don't mind, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Abada. I see the hand of Ms. Dekker. Ms. Dekker, over to you.
Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning, honourable members. Chair, I would just like to elaborate a little bit more on the key focus areas in the human capital management space. As source, we documented a full employee value proposition, I'll call it EVP for short. It focuses on monetary rewards as well as non-monetary rewards. And because we currently struggle with a limited budget, and the results from exit interviews shows that most people leave for better remuneration, we now need to focus on the non-monetary rewards and see how we can enhance that to try and keep our people. We recently also completed a grading process on all our positions, and we completed a remuneration benchmark nationally as well as against other state-owned entities. We are currently trying to get participants to assist with the international benchmarking, but that is still underway. So we'll now use the results of these benchmarking exercise to draft a remuneration strategy going forward. And with this now, we can also implement the career ladder. And the CEO mentioned the succession planning. We already identified successors for key and critical roles, and we are busy implementing the developmental plans. There's a whole team that's currently busy with a management development program, but there's different interventions for different successors that we are attending to, and that will be our key focus for the next 6 months. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Decker. Mr. Ndabambi, I see your hand.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and good morning to honorable members and honorable ministers. The CEO have addressed the infrastructure related, and all the infrastructure now since April, they have reached the target sustainable. I just want members to emphasize the point the CEO mentioned on the availability of equality meeting the minimum standard. This vandalism has really escalated now, and it's even beyond just the solar, even the expensive equipment of the equality. So we have to now put on hold some of these projects while we are relocating, as the CEO is saying. So now the relocation, it requires us and the department to also consult the multi-stakeholders. So I want to highlight this because it's the challenge now that is still impacting us currently, members. And then the last one, members, just to add also on the importance of each municipality to have at least an automatic weather station. So this is very important because it leads to the improved impact-based warning system. So each municipality, when we go, we hope that they will work with us to get a space to have these automatic weather stations. It's not many of them, but it's important that all the municipalities, so that the warning can be directed to the communities that will be impacted. Thank you, members. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Ndabambi. Let's go to iSimangaliso.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson. Let's start with the question from Honorable Dr. Mananga. The issue on the training or the skills development, it is around the fact that we, as I indicated in my presentation, as a government sector, there is this perception, especially from some of the service providers, that you can charge anything and government does not check the market. So we here at iSimangaliso make sure that when a service provider is giving us a quotation, we also do test the market. So we engage the service provider, we sat down, we showed the service provider what the market offers, and eventually we got into an agreement and the training program started after that, but obviously after having agreed on a reasonable price that could be charged for each beneficiary of the training. So that is what has happened, and those are the delays which basically caused some of the challenges that we have indicated earlier on. Honorable Manango, what measures are in place for good governance in iSimangaliso? As you know, if you look at our performance for the past 3 years, we've been achieving 100% performance target, but also for the year in question and before that, we achieved the unqualified audit opinion with no findings, which means that it was a clean audit. In this current financial year, we've sustained that, meaning that it was the second clean audit that we've obtained. The measures that we do put in place is to make sure that we have internal auditors as well as the AG. So for the previous year, we look at the findings that AG had indicated or had raised. And our first point of departure is to make sure that those findings in the second financial year are not repeat findings, so they don't appear. So we monitor that action plan quite tightly, just to make sure that they don't come back as repeat findings. But secondly, we also use our internal audit findings as they audit on quarterly basis And we fuse both the AG findings as well as our internal auditors, and we combine that and make it our audit action plan. We also have a clean audit strategy where we identify areas where we need to make sure that we don't fault or we manage issues of non-compliance, and so that contract management and so on. So those are the areas. During the process of the audit itself, we have the audit steering committee, where if AG sends a request for information, that information before a response is sent to AG goes through that committee just to make sure that there is a response and it's an adequate response that is forwarded to AG. So that is the strategy and measures that we're putting in place, and that is has helped us a great deal in achieving the clean audits that you see year in and year out. In terms of the ICT framework, yes, it has been approved. It was finalized and approved, but we've taken it a step further to say it is of no use to have a framework. We then took it to a point where we now analyze certain key programs and projects from the ICT framework, i.e. the issue of the cloud, the disaster, the recovery, to ensure business and continuity. So all those have been in place and are now operating, and it is proving to be working very well for us. So I must once again confirm that the ICT governance framework is there and it was submitted to the board, and the board approved it, and we are now implementing it, and we're implementing now specific projects in the framework. Honorable members, we wanted to show you what we've done because, as I've always been presenting to the portfolio committee, when we say clean audit and 100% performance, it must also relate to service delivery as well on the ground. It must not be just a clean audit to say that we've achieved clean audit, we've managed our books accordingly, but it does not translate into anything. And when I did the presentation earlier on, I presented the situation that Umkhanyakude district in particular is a poverty node, and almost 51.2% of youth is unemployed, and we have 42.8% unemployment. Now, this is what we're working to deal with, to say, what is the contribution of iSimangaliso in this situation? So I am happy, honorable members, to show you what has been the contribution of iSimangaliso, which is still ongoing. I'll just show you in the form of a slide the opportunities that we have created. And I will also show you, if you can go to the slide, I will also show you women, youth, people living with disabilities, and the budget that we've spent. So in the programs that we implement, we've got people and parks, we've got working for water programs, we've got environmental programs. So you can see, if you look in that slide, that in each program, these are the business opportunities that have been created for people living adjacent to this park. So in terms of the business opportunities that we've created, 243. Amongst these businesses, if you look at number 2, which is working for water programs, you'll see 99. These programs, for as long as the park is there, are going to be there because they are dealing with the treating of the alien and invasive species inside the park. So it means that they are guaranteed jobs for as long as iSimangaliso is there in terms of this program in particular. We also have a fence project. We make sure with the contractor who's dealing with the fence to say that for every community where the fence passes, there at least needs to be at least one contractor or SMME who in turn employs at least 5 to 6 people, and that is why you can see fence maintenance under 6 sitting at 30 and 107. We also have lobbied non-governmental organization, which is Wild Oceans. And there are programs that we're working with them to make sure that they also help in making sure that we further provide more business opportunities. You may have learned that we've been using environmental monitors, and they're helping us a great deal in terms of making sure that we plug in where there are challenges with regards to field rangers in areas that are managed by SAFCOL and Wildlife. And these are young people who are coming from the surrounding communities. So 200 Groensebenza and so on, including your municipal cleaning and greening. So these are the jobs. So the total number of jobs that we've created for that period in the 2023-2024 is 5,755. Budget, if you say how much of that budget has been given to these communities, this is the budget on your extreme right. If you ask how many women, it's 3,392, which is 46%. If you ask how many youth, it is 52%. You are now able to say this is the contribution of iSimangaliso financially, but also in creating the employment and business opportunities for the communities living adjacent to the park. On the question of the due diligence, yes, as I indicated, we were doing the due diligence as part of a risk management process, and this has now been submitted. It was submitted, and it was finally approved. It is exactly that reason that you now see us getting the approvals from the National Treasury to go ahead and exemptions to go ahead and advertise some facilities that we have. You will soon be seeing adverts from iSimangaliso to say these are the facilities that we are putting on the market. So that talks to the commercialization strategy that we're implementing. What we expect from that commercialization strategy and process that we're embarking on is to maximize or is to enhance our revenue generation, also to create sustainable employment opportunities, because what you see as EPWP and many other programs, those are short, medium term employment and business opportunities. But with commercial operations, they are going to be there forever, for as long as these businesses are running in the park, and employment and business opportunities are going to be created for our communities as part of benefiting from that process. But also, as I've indicated, that our model, we intend to have laundromats which are going to be owned by members or entrepreneurs from the community who will be washing linen. So we are creating contracts which says, if you are an operator inside iSimangaliso, you are not going to wash your linen. That linen will be washed in that laundromat outside. And that laundromat is going to create itself employment opportunities for the members of the community, but also business opportunities in the form of the plumbing, servicing of the machines, and so on. So that is where the skills development process and the training is going to be beneficial to assist in instances or in situations of that nature. There is more, but because of time, I'm going to leave it there. In terms of the schools, we have 2 buses. One of the buses was sponsored by Lotto, and we visit the schools for environmental education and awareness programs. And this is happening throughout the year in the park. Park maintenance, as you've seen the slide where we're showing you the EPWP and all the other activities that we do, they are part of that, and we are maintaining the park using that. Of course, we are still experiencing some budget challenges, especially because we are still grant dependent, which is what we're trying to work our way through the commercialization strategy. So there will be some challenges here and there, but we are doing our level best to make sure that that is in place. In as far as the coastline, as you have seen, our coastline is 320 kilometers, including the estuaries, and we are cleaning that coastline very well. Yes, there were challenges earlier on when, especially when the funding was not transferred, but that has since been sorted out, and the coastline is being cleaned, and there are service providers who are also coming from the same communities to do that. The earthworks, Honorable Block, the rehabilitation, that has been sorted. It was just an issue of procuring the services of the service provider. There was a slight delay there, but we've corrected that matter, and it is now moving on very well, and there are no challenges. In the present moment, I think it has only been an issue of the transfer of funds from the department, but as an organization, as an entity, we are now having no challenges in the implementation. Honorable Chairperson, you asked about the BEE. I hear you talking about 30%. Our target was more than 30%. It was 80%. We overcommitted ourselves, deliberately looking at the issues of poverty in the area where we operate, so that we can create relevance of this protected area to the communities. And indeed, we have even overachieved that, and I'm sure you've seen in our reports, where the BE, it was sitting at 90% instead of 80, which we had targeted, way above the 30% that the Honorable Chair was talking about. In terms of the targets, when you achieve targets and you achieve 100%, sometimes there is this perception that you're setting yourselves easy targets to achieve. No, that is not the case. The issue here is that I have as a CEO set up a clear process on how to manage performance. The first thing I do is when there's an APP and it has been approved and it has gone to the minister, the cabinet, and it's endorsed, we then sit down with my executives at SAFCOL and we run through the understanding of what is expected of them. And on the basis of that, they develop quarterly plans and monthly plans, which are cascaded into weekly plans in their respective departments. I hold monthly meetings, one-on-one meetings with the executive to find out what are the challenges or what are the successes. And that keeps me in the loop in terms of understanding how they are performing. It also keeps us in the loop. We have a strategy support manager who checks the smartness, who checks the POEs, the portfolio of evidence, and that is done on monthly basis. And by the time we get to a quarterly performance, we know exactly what we are dealing with. By the time we go to the second quarter, if there are challenges which were beyond our control in the previous quarter, we know that in the second quarter, we must, if the target was 15 people to be trained, but we did not achieve 15, then we add whatever that we did not achieve in the following quarter, so that the target of the previous quarter is fully achieved, which then culminates into what you see as 100% eventually at the end of the financial year. So that is what, and that is how we manage our affairs in iSimangaliso to ensure good governance, good performance, and everything in the entity. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, CE. You have just shared 2 slides that has detailed information. I think for future purposes, CE, when you are doing presentations, please be detailed. You need to also include those kind of information so that we don't keep on asking questions yet you already have answers. So those 2 slides that you've just showed us, can they be shared with the portfolio committee members? CE?
Certainly, Chairperson, we can share with the portfolio committee. In fact, we have shared with you before, but anyway, we can resubmit. It's not a problem, Chairperson.
Okay.
I'm just remembering that I did not talk to the issue of the traditional leaders. We attend the traditional council meetings, and there are targets in that regard. We had set ourselves in the previous financial year about 24 meetings with the traditional councils, and we've attended all of those. And that's where we meet all the traditional councils. But we also have a meeting with Amakosi themselves, where we meet and engage and support them in many other instances, but also get to understand the frustrations and the challenges that they have on the ground. We also have engagements with the municipalities over and above the DDM concept, taking them throughout the park so that they can understand what we do as iSimangaliso. So that's what we have. And as indicated, Chairperson, we are more than happy to share with the portfolio committee all those presentations. I must say, Chairperson, because one would say, if iSimangaliso is doing so well, why do we also hear certain voices complaining? iSimangaliso has a history of very poor relations with the communities. So what we're doing through the stakeholder engagement and management strategy is to do our level best to deal with that aspect. We cannot say that we've solved and dealt with all the problems, but there is work in progress that is in place as we speak. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, CE. I do not see any hands for follow-up questions. Honorable DMs, before I release South African Weather Services and iSimangaliso, do you want to say something? Because I want to release them, Honorable DMs.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. No, I thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the presentations. I think, as I said in the beginning, you would have noted that these are historic performance targets and achievements or non-achievements, and we will certainly keep an eye on the challenges that have been expressed moving forward and make sure that as we move forward, we don't have similar kind of challenges. With regards to iSimangaliso, I think one of the things that I am going to do is to work on relationships with the communities, because we did read about some adverse relations between the community and the authority. But a site visit today in the next 2 weeks, hopefully we could sort that out with the board chairperson and other impacted and interested and affected role players in the area. So thank you very much for the opportunity. And may I be also excused, Madam Chairperson, because Honorable DM Swartz is responsible for SAFCOL and Forestry. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Singh. You are excused. Let me thank South African Weather Services and iSimangaliso for their presentations. Thank you very much. We shall meet again. You are released. We are now left with SAFCOL. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Thank you, Chairperson. We hope you get better.
Thank you. Hey, I'm really feeling cold. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Get well soon.
Thank you. Honorable members, let's now move. Yes, DM. Oh, Honorable Manaka, sorry.
No, I heard you calling us honorable members. I'm responding, Chair.
Oh, no. I'm saying let's move to SAFCOL.
Okay.
We are now going to get overview from the board chairperson of SAFCOL. After that, we'll get the presentation from the CEO or acting CEO. Honorable Chairperson of the board of SAFCOL.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. This is Sibalo Lamini.
Yes,
we submitted an apology on behalf of our board members. They said they will join, but I don't think they've joined us yet. Maybe through you, Honorable Chair, I can maybe go straight into the presentation.
Yes, you may, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
you can switch off your video as well. You can switch off your video for connectivity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No, thank you. Good morning, Honorable Chair and Honorable Deputy Minister Swartz, honorable members. colleagues from the department, the CFO as well from SAFCOL and company secretary. Chair, I'm not sure if I will be able to share the presentation from my side, or somebody will be sharing. It doesn't allow me to share.
He and colleagues, can he be assisted? Kileka will. Okay. I think you are now made a co-host, Mr. Dlamini.
Okay. All right. Let me.
They have given you that. Yeah. You can share.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Share.
Yes, you can see it.
Chair, you can see the presentation.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Okay, so we will present, I'll present the SAFCOL overview, its mandate, and its annual performance plan for 24-25. So in terms of the company overview, we are an integrated forest company. We have operations in South Africa and in Mozambique. We were established under the under the Management of Forest Act. And our objective is basically to the development of the forestry industry according to accepted commercial management practices. So basically we have a dual mandate, that of being commercially viable and also socio-economic development. Specifically, we operate mainly in rural areas, so economic development is quite key for us. We also, then in terms of the structure of the company, SAFCOL has got subsidiaries. We have the main operating entity, Wetland Forest, which is in South Africa. We have got two other entities which were dormant, but they are now operational, Kamhlabane Timber and Abacus Forestry. Then we own 80% of Ifloma in Mozambique through our Wetland Forest. So we also hold minority shares on behalf of the communities. We have since gotten an instruction from the former minister to transfer these shares to the rightful owners. So we have 16% in Siakubega, Amatole 16%, MTO 11.3, and then in Singisi 11.49. So we are in the process of transferring these shares to the rightful beneficiaries. So in terms of our footprint, as the map shows, in South Africa, we have basically a total planted area of, a total area of about 189,000 hectares. Of that, 120,000 is planted area. The others, the other area then becomes conservation. So we divide it into two regions. We've got the north and the south region. And in Mozambique, we are in two provinces. The main operation is in Manica. And then we also have another operation that is newly established planted area, which is called the Ifloma Fiber Project. It's in the Far East, in the district of Sofala. I've just attached the map just for the details. So in terms of what you see on the map, the green areas, those are our plantations throughout the country. And then in Mozambique, the red spot, you can see closer to Beira, we have the newly planted area, which is in the Sofala province, and then the main operation then closer to the Zimbabwe-Mozambique border in Moyo Airport, actually. Now, in terms of the main operating entity, so our revenue is derived mainly from the sale of logs, lumber, as well as other non-timber related products. So we have plantations in South Africa. How we generate revenue from the plantation, we harvest the logs, we put it out into the market, we allow an open tender process for everyone to participate. And then we also then support those entities that have transformed with long-term contracts, specifically those who are BEE level 1 to 4. We also then pride ourselves with the Forest Stewardship Council certification, which we've held for 26 years. Now, this is an important certification for us. It talks to the pillars that we engage the communities in our sustainable forest management. We also then respond very well in terms of socio-economic development. So this certification is a testimony of our integrated approach to working with the communities for sustainable forest management. We also then process 20% of the logs that we grow in South Africa. We have a processing facility, the Timber sawmill, closer to Thohoyandou. Depending on the market, if the demand is high, we also outsource the processing capacity. So it's like toll processing. But at this stage, we are reliant on the existing Timber sawmill because the demand is not as high. We also blessed with the land that we are using has got beautiful sites, hiking trails, picnic sites. We also have a forest lodge and a museum. Now, this helps us then to facilitate ecotourism within our operations. In terms of the company, these results are based on 22-23. These are the audited ones from 22-23. We are still finalizing our 23-24 audit. We've seen an upward trend. We're a 1.2 billion rand company with a biological asset to the value of 4.6 billion. As I've indicated, we have the FSC certification 26 years in a row. We have achieved 82% of the shareholder compact targets. We are a level 2 BEE. We have achieved unqualified audit for 4 years in a row. We have not used any government guarantees. We've funded most of our activities from our own balance sheet. As I said, that one of our secondary mandate then is the socio-economic development. So we have signed social compacts with most communities in the areas where we operate in. So these are the various clusters, the municipalities. So what this has helped us is to have a strong relationship with the communities. So it's mutual benefits. We facilitate the socio-economic development and then improve the livelihood in those areas. Also, they assist us in terms of making sure they look after our plantations, but they also participate in the value chain of our operations. So we are also developing entrepreneurs in the process. So in terms of corporate social investment, we've done a lot of work within the communities, specifically the food bridges. We've upgraded schools, libraries, and clinics. We also support, because we have the land and we have the know-how of growing or utilizing that land to grow either vegetables or with our trees. We've facilitated the agroforest projects within our operations. And in the process, we do create jobs as well. And we've planted some trees, the indigenous and fruit trees, as part of the bigger planting program supported by the president. We also have very well-run enterprise development programs within the organization. Actual fact, some of the silviculture activities are being provided by some of the beneficiaries that have gone through the program. We've actually partnered with the University of Mpumalanga. So we're not only impacting skills of just doing the work, but we ensure that these enterprise beneficiaries can run their business in a sustainable manner. And we equip them with all the financial tools. Now, one of the biggest challenges that SAFCOL is facing is We need land. Land is really key for us, for the sustainability of SAFCOL and for the sustainability of the programs that we have in terms of the mandate, that of economic development, especially in the rural areas. So we need stability in terms of the land that we operate in. We've got land parcels which were declared as state forest land. We lease this land from DFFE. However, about 57% of that land is currently affected by land claims. So we are working closely with the department and also Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. I must indicate, yes, the process has been slow given the challenges of dealing with land issues, but it is key for us as SAFCOL because our strategy is we want to bring the land claimants into the value chain so that we form good, long-lasting strategic partnership. They also participate and grow their businesses within the SAFCOL value chain. This proactive model that we have is working successfully. Actually, we have a cost settlement business model. The first one we applied with the Mamashola community. So what we are doing, we are proactively engaging those beneficiary entities that are at an advanced stage of getting their land concluded so that we can then lease directly to them and then bring them into our value chain. So at this stage, we have 44 land claimants that are impacting SAFCOL. Out of that, 6 are at an advanced stage. So we just need assistance in terms of getting this process accelerated going forward. Because at the end of the day, then we can have a sustainable business model that's not only beneficial for SAFCOL, but for the country at large in solving job creation and also bring development, especially in rural areas. So now coming to what are we doing from now going forward? We have a strategy, we call it Strategy 29. But before I go to the strategy, in terms of our vision, we want to see ourselves as a leader in sustainable forest and commercial forest products. So we want to grow the forest value chain, build commercial value through strategic partnership. That's the model that we want to take. And we want to facilitate sustainable and inclusive economic transformation. So in terms of our values, we are passionate about forests and we conduct ourselves with honesty and integrity. We strive for customer satisfaction. So customer centricity for us is key because it shows who we are and how we conduct ourselves in the market so that we can attract the right partners and we can be seen then to be the right entity that can grow the forestry business and its value chain. We respect and value our employees. We can't do anything without the employees. We have excellent talent, I think, in forest management skills that we have in-house. We have actually expanded that scope. We now even provide services to municipality. As we speak, we are assisting Msunduzi municipality with our skills to manage their forest. So we strive for excellence and innovation. We have well-run R&D facility in-house. We do tree breeding and we partnered with our local university and international ChemCo in terms of coming up with seeds and seedlings that can withstand weather, climate change, can adapt to the various challenges of growing trees. So Strategy 29, how did we come up with Strategy 29? We then developed a 5-year outlook starting from 2024 to 2029. Hence, we call it Strategy 29. So it's looking at what do we need to do to grow the business from now until 2029. So we are basically geared to establish a future fit forest company that will address all the challenges in the country. So the key items that have gone into the 20, just focusing now on this financial year, we want to improve our revenue generation from the sale of logs, lumber, and ecotourism. So we want to strengthen the base that we currently have. We all know that we've had a challenge with the economy, given the load shedding, the slow growth in terms of the economy at large. So we're slowly recovering as we're seeing the signs that the market is showing us. So we want to then strengthen our sales in terms of log, lumber, and ecotourism. Now, we have a number of projects that we have identified. Our growth strategy is basically on diversification of our product portfolio. The beauty is we have the raw material, so we need to diversify. And these are capital projects that will need funding. So in that case, we're looking at funding to take SAFCOL to the next growth trajectory. We also then continuously focusing internally in terms of our efficiencies and making sure that we run our business with the best practice. As I indicated, customer centricity and brand building is key for us now, because if we have to go out in the market and say we want to raise funding, we want to deal with the commercial institutions, FDIs. They must know that SAFCOL is a well-run company. It's got good governance structures. It's got a clean track record in terms of the AG audits. And we do pride ourselves. We tick all those boxes. So we're focusing then on these strategic projects for this year. We also then focusing on this shared value of transformation, socio-economic development, especially with the communities that we operate in. We facing then other challenges, which are not only a SAFCOL challenge, but I think it's in the industry at large: timber theft and illegal mining. So we have a strategy now where we're looking at technology-based security services to combat this timber theft. But over and above that, we need to protect the forest land, because we are seeing a lot of illegal mining activities within the forest land. Now, it means then we need to work together with various departments, including Department of Minerals, the issuing of mining licenses, because otherwise then we won't have a forest land, because we'll be fighting this side, we're fighting timber theft, we're fighting illegal mining. So the strategies that we're putting in place is to have this close collaboration with the various departments, but also bring in technology for combating the illegal activities. Also then the land claims, as I had indicated, this is key for us for sustainability of the business. We need to accelerate the resolution of the land claims, although we're making progress, but we just need to pick up the pace. Now, in terms of then future fit SAFCOL, we are bringing in mechanization. Mechanization has got benefits. The industry has moved and we are slightly behind because we are using old, outdated equipment. So the issues of safety come into play. So mechanization is bringing in efficiencies. Safety is key. And it's also bringing in the quick turnaround to our customers. So in terms of being customer-centric. Now, we've managed this very well, because what we've done with mechanization, we didn't lose jobs. We do harvesting. We have our own internal harvesting capacity. 80% of it is done internally. The other 20% is outsourced. So as we bring in this new equipment, what we've done, we've built new teams that can continue with the mechanized, we're using the old equipment. So in that process, we did not lose job, but what we've then reduced is the outsourced 20%. We're also looking at the structure for future fit. I'll show the structure later, how we want to see the future fit SAFCOL. We also are very diligent in ensuring compliance, especially with the certification. The Forest Stewardship Council. It is a license to sell our tree products, not only locally and internationally. We're trying to utilize this certificate so that we can get a premium on our products. Also, PFMA is key, and safety is #1 priority. So we do drive the safety culture aggressively. And also we're addressing all findings and close any findings as quickly as we can. We are also implementing the ERP system to help us with modernizing the company in terms of automation. And we continuously investing in research and development. In this case, what we do is every year we normally set aside about 1.5% of our revenue from the previous year. However, I must say, given the economic challenges, we're looking for more funding in this regard. It's never enough. I think we will tap into other resources that are available to enhance our research and development. Yeah, so in terms of the roadmap, then this is the roadmap. Phase 1, we want to have profitable growth from existing base. Phase 2, we then want to diversify. This is now next year onwards. What is key, maybe just to indicate what are we doing in phase 1, obviously, we want to ensure that we achieve our budgeted sales. We're looking at our fixed costs, variable costs to promote efficiency in the organization. Timbadola sawmill, this is a very, very old sawmill, very old actually. We have boilers, I think, dating back to the 1930s. So it needs an upgrade. So we have started an upgrade project. Obviously, it needs funding as well so that we can upgrade the Timbadola to be a state-of-the-art sawmill. We also now have partnered recently with a partner called CHP partner. CHP is combined heat and power. Now, what the beauty about this partner is they are taking the residue after processing the tree, whatever is left after the tree, which we call a residue. They use that as feedstock to generate electricity. So we'll have now our own power plant within Timbadola that will produce green energy. And that energy, that electricity, we will use to run Timbadola. It also produces, CHP will also produce steam. So the old boilers then will be a thing of the past because then we'll get steam coming out of the CHP. So this is quite a nicely integrated project to upgrade Timbadola and also bringing in clean energy and also add value to streams that were previously not regarded as value adding. We also have the gum trees. It's not a big volume, that's about 3%. So we're looking at pole treatment so we can then support projects like the ESCOM transmission power line projects. We also providing the management services. I've mentioned Msunduzi. We're looking at the mobile sawmill. Mobile sawmill is a small sawmill that can be used by the communities so that we can start empowering them with also technology and beneficiating product, not just grow a tree, but now they should be able to produce lumber products. But this is still at an early stage. We're assessing the viability of that. The harvesting mechanization project, as I've indicated, we've already started with that. And then we want to look at the future fit model. So we have to look at the governance around how we see SAFCOL in the future. I'll show the slide at the end. Then phase 2, which is next year onwards, will be then diversify and build resilience. And then phase 3 will be then to sustain and innovate. That will take us to 2029. Now, in terms of our strategic goals, I'm not going to go through the details. We want financial sustainability. We want to enhance socioeconomic development and the business growth and customer centricity and the excellence in forest operations. So it's very key that we maintain the base that we have and excel as well, and then look at the future fit model. Now, in terms of the projects that we have, the required capital investment taking us to 2029, we starting with this financial year. This will be for the upgrade of Timbadola, the pole treatment, and the mechanization project, and also the ERP. We're looking at about 242 million, which will, the following year is 253, 206. Now, we have projects that are also at early development phase. We're looking at high value products that can be made from the residue, they're called CNC, cellulose nanocrystal. We are working with some of the research institutions. It will need a lot of capital investment. I think we need about 500 million. It's going to be quite a big plant. So we see that if this project is a success, it will come online then around the 28, 29. But there's still a lot of upfront, front-end work that needs to be done. This will help us then to turn around the company from a 1.2 billion, maybe then to a 4 billion rand company in the future. So this is our plan going forward. Now, this is the corporate plan. Also, I'm not going to go through the details, but these are the performance measures that we've set for ourselves under financial sustainability, socio-economic impact, and then operational excellency. Now, we do manage, we do monitor TUP very, very closely. What is important for us is once we harvest any land that has been planted, we have to replant within a year. We are also now with the department going to align in terms of the new greening project so that we then look at those open areas that needs to be replanted. However, we'll have to build viable business cases which can then be funded because, you know, usually to start planting, it needs a lot of money. You only start reaping the rewards, you know, once you start harvesting, which could be anything 20 years, 30 years, depending on the type of tree that we are growing. So this is so TUP, you'll see that this is a very important measure that shows that we are managing the forest in a sustainable way. Because once there's an open land, that land can be easily invaded and you lose then the plantations. So we also then operational excellence. These are the targets that we have in terms of the FSC and also ensuring our governance is working well, ERP, the supply chain management efficiency, and yeah, the governance, anti-corruption and risk management. Yeah, so now what we normally had in the past, we still have to align with the department. We had what is called shareholder compact targets. So these are targets which are normally set by the shareholder and we need to perform against them. And they, on a quarterly basis, they are then monitored in terms of how we're performing. So these are some of them that we still have to align in terms of the ones that we're proposing to be changed, because we normally have an opportunity to engage and see which have to be changed. But obviously we look at the triggers that necessitate those changes. So like, for instance, this year, we've had a lot of forest fires. So a lot of land now is open that needs to be replanted. We had not planned for the aggressive forest fires that we have had. So we have to then look at the target to say, is it realistic or can we then negotiate and stretch it in the following year? Now, in terms of then the structure that we are going into for the future, which is our future fit SAFCOL, we want to maintain our KLF, Komatiland Forest, just focusing on plantations. Actually, all these business units will become profit centers so that we then promote efficiency. IFLOMA, the operation in Mozambique, we are in the process of then making sure that it reports directly to SAFCOL Group. So there's some governance issues that we need to go through. IFLOMA has plantations. They also have a treated coal facility. They also do processing, by the way. there is this newly planted area in the Far East where we call the Fiber Project. We're still looking for a partner so that we can complete that planting. Then we have the newly operationalized entities, Kamhlabane. We want to then, Kamhlabane must focus on processing. This is where Timber Dollar sawmill will be reporting to. We then want to bring in new products, engineered wood. For instance, you'll see with engineered wood, overseas, they make offices, a high-rise building out of wood. And we do have the raw material. So, but we need the investment so that we can then process this wood to the required standard. That's why then it's important that we upgrade Timber Dollar, but also further invest. So as you can see, the CAPEX plan that I presented earlier, we're also looking at bioenergy, biochemicals. You know, there's so much you can get out of the residue after you've processed the tree. Then we bring in abacus, ecotourism. We want to grow this business. It's got a huge, huge potential. We are working closer with Mpumalanga tourism. But I'm happy that we may have other partners within the department so that we can enhance our performance around ecotourism. And then treated poles will come in here. We also want to then, because we have this in-house excellence in terms of technical services in forest management, this will be now a service that will be sold to all the other business entities, even selling it outside. For instance, we can train other industry employees at our Platoran Training Center. So, Chair, I think, I've already touched on these projects. I think, in a nutshell, this is what we are as SAFCOL. And in terms of the future, this is where we are going and the focus for this financial year. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dlamini. Honorable members, that is the presentation from SAFCOL. Can I note hands? If you would like to pose some few questions and clarity-seeking questions. Can I note hands, honorable members? I see the hand of Honorable Nalumango, followed by Honorable De Block. Members, those are the two hands that followed by the third one, Honorable Makasi. So far, those are the two hands that I've noted. I'll look at others. Honorable Nalumango, followed by Honorable De Block.
Thank you, Chair. Let me just thank Mr. Dlamini for the presentation. I do have 3 questions. How is SAFCOL ensuring the successful implementation of its strategic plan in the face of various internal and external challenges? And how will the resolution of land claims and the conclusion of lease agreements affect SAFCOL's land management and operational strategies? And how are the long-term implications of SAFCOL focus on customer centricity and brand building for the company's market position and revenue streams? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable De Block.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation on this new entity that we have to provide oversight over. I have 3 questions, like Honorable Nalumango. My first one is, I'm confused why this entity has entities. It's already inefficient to have a department that has separate entities that fulfill the mandate of that department. It creates space for money flows to obscure corruption. It creates inefficiencies in terms of corporate shared services, in terms of management, in terms of mandates, accounting, transparency. And here we have an entity that has 4 separate entities underneath the entity and creates all these extra layers that to me seem completely unnecessary. You can have regional managers that can oversee separate areas. You don't have to have a separate entity to achieve that. They can have KPIs that relate to exactly what these entities deal with. Instead, you're creating executive management at different levels that don't need to exist. So I'd like some explanation from SAFCOL on why these 4 other entities exist within their entity. It just seems like a Russian doll situation and seems completely unnecessary to me, but I'm happy to be convinced otherwise. My second question is around ecotourism. And you mentioned that there's some opportunities to generate revenue there. I just wondered, in which areas are you actually generating revenue, and how much has been generated, say, over the last financial year? And then are there areas where trails and hiking routes are maintained just as a public good without an opportunity for revenue? Because this is public land essentially that's being managed. And then my third question relates to the huge jump in the graph in the CapEx requirements for new projects coming online in 2026, 27, and 27, 28, and later. And there was a figure mentioned fairly flippantly of 500 million or R500 million that's needed to be invested there. And in a country where our fiscus is already extremely constrained, we have health crises, we have education crises, and all sorts of different draws on our national budgets and the fiscus. Is this 500 million expected to come from Treasury, or is SAFCOL looking into public-private partnerships to make this work? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable de Blok. Honorable Makasi, followed by Honorable Mkhize.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to check with the department or the presenter. What are the potential risks associated with the implementation of the sustainability framework? And how are they mitigating those risks? And then what are the expected outcomes of the enterprise resource planning implementation project? And how will it impact SAFCOL's operational efficiency and decision-making? And how are they planning to finance the research and development initiatives? And what are the expected returns on the investments? He also spoke on the issue of distribution of the shares. And I want to check, is there a time frame to that distribution? And are there any challenges or key challenges to the delay? If you can take us through and explain what are the delays and when are they going to finalize the process? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Makasi. Honorable Mkhize. Honorable Nalumango, is that a legacy hand? Can you lower it down?
It's a legacy hand, Chair.
Can you lower it down, please? Okay, Honorable Mkhize.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings to everyone. Thank you for the great presentation by Chairperson of SAFCOL. I have just one question. Thank you for the presentation. I've listened to it, but my concern here is with the involvement of youth and women when it comes to their future planning. I haven't heard anything which got regards with the women and the youth involvement. If maybe they're only interested with economy development to other civilians, but not to concerning with the youth development and women particularly. Maybe if they can explain that area for me, I'll be satisfied. Thank you.
Honorable Temba. Honorable Temba, over to you. Can you lower your hand, Honorable Mkhize? Honorable Temba.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. But just a quick one, I have a question. My question is as follows. Does AFCOL have community outreach program or strategies in place? And number two, how often does AFCON conduct community engagement sessions and public meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Temba. From my side, SAFCOL, can you share with us of community shares in or ability to declare dividends? Been with the view of assisting or taking over the management of the state plantations. And the last question, how many of those land claims communities has SAFCOL been paid? They are due land rentals and when community paid? Thank you. Those are the questions from my side. I do not see any other hand. Over to you, Mr. Dlamini, and your colleagues, if they are in the meeting, they can also assist you with the response from the members. Thank you, Mr.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Okay, I think there's a problem with my network. I lost your questions. I don't know if you can hear me clearly. Chair, can you hear me? Chair, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right, let me then...
I can hear. Can you hear now?
Yes.
Mr. Dlamini,
Yes, I can hear you.
You said so I wanted to check because I also lost you. I want to check which part did you lose.
It was your question, Honorable Chair. Okay, Chair, I think there's a network problem. Can I maybe start with the other questions for now, Chair, if you can hear me? Maybe can I ask I'll ask my colleagues just to start with the ERP and then let me check if my system is working. Mr. Human, if you can respond to the ERP.
Okay, thank you. Through you, Chair. Good morning, honourable members and Acting CEO. I could also not hear the Chair's last questions. I was making notes and I could hear everyone except the last one. But let me start with Honourable Makize's question around the ERP outcomes. So yes, the ERP is a long outstanding project that we finally got approval for last year. We went live on 1 June this year. And as one can expect, this is my third ERP implementation in my career. There are some teething problems, but we are already seeing elements of this working better than the previous one. So we hope to see that this system will now integrate a lot of external systems that was previously fed into our ERP system manually, and that would be things like our banking integration. There was also a system called Microforest in which we maintain the detailed planning and activities and harvesting regime at each plantation. So with that being integrated into the ERP, it's going to automate a lot of manual processes, thereby reducing the risk of human error in feeding this information into the system. From an audit perspective, we also will probably see a reduction in audit fee and also in audit time taken because there will be system control reliance. The first year is usually rough because external audit, in our case AG, will do a very thorough test of the system controls. And once they have comfort around that, future audits will have a lot less substantive work, which takes a lot of time and costs a lot of money for their resources. And we'll see that benefit come through as well. And then lastly, the big thing that we are excited about is that we'll have significantly improved decision-making ability, because now we will have better access to real-time data. And that is something that at this stage, it takes us about 2.5 weeks to close the previous month and report on how we did 2.5 weeks ago, where now we hope to see that within a matter of 5-6 days, we'll be able to see what's happening in the system. It's accessible from the mobile devices. So everyone in the company would be connected almost in real time. And that's one of the key benefits that we saw in going forward with this investment on the ERP. So CEO, Chair, I'm not sure if you want me to address other things as well. I made a few notes, otherwise I'll come back.
Okay. Through you, Chair, can I just test, Mr. Human, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Okay,
Mr.
perfect. Okay,
Can
through
you
you,
hear
Chair,
me?
thank you.
Can you hear me? Because I don't know what happened. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, Honorable Chair.
Okay. No, I will ask my questions after you have done responding to other questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the question on strategic plans and on the land. Okay, let's talk about the strategic plans. So it is key for us, as I've indicated, that SAFCOL, we're coming from an era where we running old, outdated equipment, aging infrastructure, and we need to grow the business. We have the raw material, so we need to now extract value out of it. The only thing that we currently extracting maximum value of is the logs, because we can sell it to downstream users. We can process it ourselves as well. But there's more that we can do. So the strategic plan then is to diversify our revenue streams. Hence, all these other projects that I've indicated, they are necessary in order to grow the company and also create jobs, because we have to be financially, sustainable on our own, which we are okay, but we cannot just stay where we are. So the products that we need to extract now, unfortunately, need a lot of capital investment. I will make an example. Some companies used to produce pulp and paper. You can imagine the capital outlay that goes into a pulp and paper mill. But with the changes in market, they were able to quickly change over, and now they are producing fiber, high value fiber, which is sold in the Far East for a high premium. And that's how they are making their money. So we also need to then move a step further. And it is required that we then invest. However, the investment that we need, we're not looking for state money. What we are doing is we're doing a viable business case, and then we structure the projects such that we can go to the market. Either we bring in a strategic partner for the technology, or even if the partner then brings in funding, that's welcome. But we interrogate the business case. And then if it's a viable business case and it meets all our headline requirements in terms of IRR and PV, then we invest on it. So it won't be projects that will require the state funding. So it is important then that we then present ourselves as a company in the market that is customer-centric, so that people can then say, this is a company we can work with, we can partner with for growth. Okay, then I can move to the next question. Yes, our structure in terms of Honorable Block, in terms of our, it looks a bit overwhelming, but no, it's not. The size of the land is about 189,000 hectares, and we have operations as well across the country. So it's not like it's top heavy. It relatively, yes, it will have GMs for those. It's just that maybe the blocks makes it a bit overwhelming, but it makes it focus, and then we're creating entities that are profit driven. That is a drive. So we we're going to make sure then that we address the fixed costs and make sure that we are efficient. The hiking trails in terms of ecotourism, we're doing a lot. Again, as I say, we've suffered from the past that some of these facilities have not been properly maintained. So we are then looking for partners who can come on board and help us extract more value out of ecotourism. So we are looking for strategic partners, but they are all driven by business cases. It's not just to bring someone for the sake of getting someone and then look for the state to assist us. So there will be a business case that goes through rigorous analysis. And if there is value that can be extracted, yes, we'll go for it. So I think I've addressed the issue of the huge jump in terms of the required funding for the capital investment. It's value adding. Unfortunately, you need to invest. It needs a capital outlay, but it has to be driven by a viable business case. If not, then we don't do it. Yeah. I think Honorable Makazi, you talk about the risk of sustainability. For us, the key driver for sustainability is the land, because we are leasing the land and 57% of it is under land claim. So it is important then that we resolve those, the 57%. You can imagine, I mean, if 57% of the land you're operating in is under contestation, it brings instability to the business. But as I say, we have already, we've got this proactive engagement and a post-settlement model that we're using, and it is working for those beneficiaries that we've onboarded. So that's the main risk. But the second risk is then the timber theft, which is basically criminal activity, which we're experiencing, unfortunately, as a country. But what we are saying, we're looking for partners in terms of technology-enhanced solutions so that we can detect any movements within our plantation and deploy resources to curb that timber theft with real-time data. So we're moving away from just having a security guard patrolling the entrance of our plantations, but bring in technology that you can do surveillance from a distance, have a centralized control room, and then deploy accordingly. And then also, as I indicated, the illegal mining is also a big problem because now it brings a bit of instability in our operation. There's a lot of illegal gold mining. So we need to then work very closely with Department of Minerals in terms of issuing those licenses and protect the land that we have and that is reserved for forest operation. Obviously, it has to make business sense at the end of the day. Then the research, okay, right, for research, we said we set aside the 1.5% of our revenue from the previous financial year, which we then use for research. I think we one of the best researchers in the country in terms of tree breeding. We also associated with CHEMCO, which is an international organization. We even produce seeds that we sell internationally. Countries like Kenya, they buy their seeds for their trees from us. So we want to turn this into a profit center as well. We don't just do research and not sell the product that we get. So obviously, if there are more sources of funding for research, we'll look into that as well going forward. The distribution of shares. Okay, so coming back to the minority shares that we hold in terms of the minorities, we got a directive from the former minister, the late minister, in terms of transferring those shares to the rightful beneficiaries. This was around May this year. So we started the process. It has gone through our governance process. We're looking at the SQF, Siakubega, and the Singisi. Those are the first ones that we are in the process of transferring. It has gone through the board approval. So now it's a question of engaging the rightful beneficiary and conclude that process. So ours is just to transfer them and then to the rightful beneficiaries. We are reliant on the shareholder agreement that's giving us direction and the structures on the ground in terms of the beneficiaries. So that process is ongoing. We've just started. Okay, Honorable Mkhize, I think you talked about the involvement of youth and women. We do have a very comprehensive program in terms of transformation. We focus, actually, if we go on procurement, we give preference to women-owned and youth-owned businesses. But also in terms of our enterprise development, we are focusing strictly, we have that the youth and women are a priority. We can share the results if required. So then, Honorable Tembo, you talked about community outreach program and engagement. We actually have frequent engagement with the communities. It's actually, in some cases, depending on the issues at hand, it could be on a monthly basis, but it is focused on certain issues. As I had indicated, we have successfully engaged some of the communities, like the Mamashola community in Zanin. Now they understand how we operate the business. They're actually providing the civiculture services. So in that case, they are part of us now, you know. For those who are new coming into the system, we then engage them in, so that we first educate them how we run our business. We give them the skills required to run forestry, and then we onboard them through the processes that we have in-house. So there is frequent, but it depends on the issues at hand. If required, it could be on a weekly basis, but once we've got them in our system and they understand how we do things, then we engage them regularly. So we try on a quarterly basis at the top level to have those continuous engagement, but there is a team on the ground that engages on a more regular basis. I'm not sure if I've answered everything, but I know there's a question from you, Honorable Chair, that I did not get. Maybe I can take it now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dlamini. From my side, I asked that what is the state of each of 4 companies that SAFCOL hold community shares in terms of economic viability or ability to declare dividends? The second question was based on the, I've made a comment, then the question followed that we know that our forest branch has not been able to maintain the state plantations under silviculture practices, including the reduction of temporarily unplanted areas. So has SAFCOL been in discussions with the department with the view of assisting or taking over the management of the state plantations? The last question, how many of land claims communities has SAFCOL been paying their due land rentals, and when last was each community paid? Those were the 3 questions from my side.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Dlamini, before
Yes.
you respond, I see the hand of our portfolio committee secretary, Chilega.
Thank you, Chair. I received questions as well from Honorable Managa. She's got a connectivity challenge. So, Chair, I will read the questions. Yes, yes.
Okay.
So she's asking SAFCOL, since they are operating in rural areas, so her question is on funding the adjacent communities. So is SAFCOL aware that there is funding for seedlings to the local farmers? And also, what about the land claims? For how long will the process drag? And she understands that process is at an advanced stage, but she wants to know what's the progress there. I see, Chair, she wants to join again. Let me accept her. Yeah, those are the questions from her. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I think Mr. Dlamini has noted the questions. Over to you, Mr. Dlamini.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Chair. Maybe I'll also check with Mr. Human, CFO, on the payment in terms of the land payment. But okay, let me start for now. So in terms of the 4 entities where we were holding shares on behalf of the communities, so we're not operating in those in those entities. We were basically asked by the state at the time to say, can we house these shares on behalf of the communities? So in terms of the business operations, for instance, if I can give an example, Siakubega, the main operator there is Mondi. Singisi, there's Hans Marinsky. So ours has been to basically ensure that we hold those shares on behalf of the communities and protect them from being diluted. So that has been our role. So in terms of the operational side of it, we're not involved at all. So all we're doing now is just transferring those shares to the rightful beneficiaries in terms of the shareholder agreement that was made available to us. So that was the model then that was historically adopted, that SAFCOL will just house those shares. But when the right time, as it has already come, then it's transferred back to those communities. So as I have already indicated, we have started the process with the Singisi and the Siakubega. So that is the work that's ongoing at this point. Human, do you have a figure on how much we paid on the land claims?
Yeah, sure. Through you, Chair.
Yeah.
Just to confirm on the last topic, when we look at the financial viability of each of those 4 minority stakes, there's 3 of them are actually not financially that viable. We only get dividends from one of them, the last one that the acting CEO mentioned, Siakubeka, which we then manage. But the others had to issue rights issues, so they're asking for capital, which is usually a sign that they're not doing that well. But Siakubeka is doing very well. Okay, so on the successful land claimants, we actually only have one where land was carved out from the DFFE lease rental to enter into a separate agreement with this community called Mamahlola. And we continue to pay them monthly. I think their lease amount is something like 1.5 million rand, and that is fully up to date. So that is the only one where it's gotten to such an advanced state that there's a title deed, a new lease was agreed, and that we are now redirecting payments from DFFE to Mamahlola. And Chair, if you'll allow me, just I think one little detail in one question was skipped on Honourable De Blok. He asked on ecotourism, how much revenue in the last year did we get from there? So in 2023, we received about 10 million rand from that revenue stream, which is it's very small compared to 1.2 billion. But that's from revenue last year, and the 2024 results that's now still in a process of the audit being finalized. It was, I think, 7 million rand. So it reduced slightly, but that is roughly an indication of the revenue stream that we see from ecotourism. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Human. Mr. Dlamini.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Then there was the questions from Honorable Mananga in terms of the funding adjacent communities. Okay, in terms of funding adjacent communities, we definitely do our CSI and our enterprise development programs which we fund ourselves in-house through, setting aside certain budgets. But we are not able to fund any bigger projects outside our normal course of business. So what we normally do is we would, let's say, then look for services from the community. Let's say it's planting, weeding, or silviculture related. So we will then, those land claimants whom we are already at an advanced stage in terms of our proactive engagement model, we will then give those services to those land claimants to provide. And obviously then they run it like a sustainable business. But yeah, we do our best within the CSI and other programs to empower communities. For instance, we also, the agroforestry business, we would provide seeds or seedlings required, let's say, for, we have a project actually in Zanin where the community grows groundnuts inside our plantations. So once we provide the seedlings, we do the research for them to give them the right seedlings, and then they can then sell the product as for their own, as a benefit that accrues to themselves. So the land claims, in terms of how long the process will drag, okay, SAFCOL, we basically impacted by this. So we try to be actively engaged, but it's a process that's really driven by Department of Land, what is it? Land and Rural Development. But we try to be proactively engaged so that, because it does affect us if it's not resolved timelessly. So it's a process outside our space, but as I say, it's just keep on knocking to say, can we get these issues as resolved? So this is where we're looking for assistance actually to expedite the work that is done outside our space to be expedited. Chair, I think, I don't know if there's any question that we might have left out. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Damin. I did not capture your response on the second question that I've asked. The one that was asking whether you have had discussions with the department in the view of assisting or taking over management of the state plantations. I'm not sure whether I might have lost you when you were responding. The second question.
Oh, okay, so yes, no, thank you, Honorable Chair. Yes, we are, because we've just been recently transferred to the department, so we are busy now aligning in terms of the greening program. We will definitely work with the department in terms of planting the open areas. So it's early days, but we working with the plan then to take over some of the open areas. So we are finalizing the plan with the department as we speak. Yeah. Thank you. Chair.
Okay, no, thank you, Mr. Dlamini and Mr. Human. DM Swartz, before I release them, because I do not see any follow-up questions before I release SAFCOL. Do you want to say something, DM?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members. Chair would like to thank the committee members and yourself for all the questions and comments and for all the insights which you are giving us in terms of what we should do, and that the entities through their CEOs will take these questions and improve on them, and that where we have gaps in the fourth quarter, the entities would have done their best to improve where there are gaps, and that also where the committee has suggested through their questions what we can do to actually enhance and strengthen our programs in the entities, that will be done. But I would also like to recommit that as the department, as always, we are always available to submit reports in writing and also adhere to timeframes according to the portfolio committee, and that We welcome the oversight of the portfolio committee at all times because it strengthens us as a department. And that today we have listened very attentively to all the questions and comments, because at the end of the day, the questions that were asked is to assist us to actually strengthen ourselves through the entities. And I hope that all the CEOs would have listened carefully, and that in the next quarter, which will be the fourth quarter, we'll be able to measure ourselves. I'll give an example, Chair. The South African Weather Services, we would be able to see in the fourth quarter, because now we do not have that much load shedding. So we'd be able to measure ourselves and see, was it indeed really load shedding that is making us to not have reached our targets in some of the instances. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members.
Thank you very much, Honorable TM. And also let me thank SAFCOL for their presentation, and hopefully we will meet next time and they will be able to respond adequately to the questions that are raised by the members. I have picked up that they have not they've just answered a fraction of the questions that were asked, but however, we're just giving them time so that they can get used to this committee. Honorable Swartz, I see your hand.
No, I just wanted to say, Honorable Chair, that I think that for us to assist each other, if the chairperson would maybe through the secretary of the committee forward the questions in writing to SAFCOL through the acting CEO, so that they respond in writing, and the chairperson would then give the time frame. So that I think that chairperson, it is just fair that the portfolio committee should get responses, and that we understand that SAFCOL will get used to the committee, but I think that in terms of information, they should be able to respond, and I'm requesting the chair through you, we afford them an opportunity to respond in writing at the stipulated time you will have given them. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, TM. You are assisting. We will do that. We will send them written follow-up questions, and then we will give them a period of 2 weeks to respond. Thank you very much, Mr. Dlamini and Mr. Human, the delegation from SAFCOL, for your presentation and then for your responses. And you are now released. We are going to remain as honorable members. There is something that I would like to share with you before I adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much, DM. And SAFCOL, you are released.
Thank you.
Honorable members, I know that we have a sitting today. It's a 3-line whip, if I've got the notice clear. I just wanted to inform you that Kileka is going to be on leave. She is undergoing a medical surgery, but I have had a meeting with the section manager and the management. The operations of the committee will continue as planned. There will be no hiccups. We are going to get a temporary secretary who will be assisting while Kileka is on a sick leave. So I just wanted to share that with you, members, so that in our next meeting, you are not shocked when you see that there is someone else. She is gonna go. Then I will hear from her when she will be coming back. I think it's a period of a few weeks. I just wanted to share that with you, honorable members. I don't think there is anything, not unless there's someone who wants to say something with regards to what I've just shared. Honorable Diplock.
Thank you, Chair. I think I speak on behalf of all of us in wishing our secretary well. We will certainly miss you, but we hope everything goes well and you recover quickly and we can see you again soon, hopefully in person, if not just on virtual. Chair, I also wanted to ask, I don't know if it's the appropriate moment, but during the inductions, the Deputy Minister, after I asked a question about bioprospecting permits, requested that the department give an answer in writing on why it's taken up to 7 years for prospecting licenses or permits to be granted. But I'm not sure if that's been received. I certainly haven't seen it, and I wondered if perhaps some of the committee officials could help remind the department that that is still due. Thank you.
Okay, that is noted, Honorable Diplock. We will definitely remind the department with regards to your questions, and also, honorable members, if you feel that SAFCOL did not adequately respond, can you also share those questions with the committee secretary? With that being said, honorable members, I think we have now reached the end of our meeting, and let me thank once again your honorable members for your inputs, and they were really indeed valuable. And I am very much happy with how our committee has been performing. And with those few words, honorable members, thank you very much. Let's go and attend Parliament program. The meeting stands adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chair.
Chair.
Thank you, members.
Thank you.